She said it like a joke, right there at the dinner table. If you disappeared tomorrow, no one would even notice. And the room? They laughed. Every single one of them. Even the niece I bought that brand new iPhone for. Hi, I'm Erin, 36, invisible in a family that only noticed me when I paid the bills. But that night, that was the moment everything changed. I didn't scream. I didn't argue. I simply stood up, silently, and let the whole system collapse behind me. And what came next? They never saw it coming. Before we dive into the story, if you're enjoying these meaningful stories, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel so you never miss out on more. Now let's start the story together. I stood near the kitchen, pretending to stir the store-bought spinach dip with a cracker, while Ava tore into her gift. Her fingers were still glazed in orange buffalo sauce, smudging the corners of the iPhone box. She peeled back the plastic like it was sacred, her grin wide and innocent. For a second, I let myself feel glad I'd gotten it for her. Then she said it. Mom says if you disappeared tomorrow, no one would even notice. She said it like a joke, light, breezy, a 13-year-old's delivery coated in frosting and teenage sugar. But it landed hard. The room laughed. Not loud, not cruel. Just that easy, careless kind of laughter that tells you they don't even realize what they're doing. Monica didn't even glance up from her wine glass. She just smirked, one leg crossed over the other, nails freshly painted the color of dried cranberries. Dad, in his usual spot by the window, raised his beer. She's not wrong, he chuckled. Mom didn't say anything, but I saw her shoulders lift, just slightly. I knew that gesture. It meant she approved. Last Thanksgiving, Monica told me they were keeping it intimate this year. That meant I wasn't invited. That was how my family did things. Not through arguments or slammed doors, just exclusion wrapped in a smile. I stayed where I was, unnoticed, just like always. The couch was full, my seat taken by someone's purse. The dining chairs pulled into a half circle like a stage set, none of them facing me. The TV in the corner flickered through ESPN highlights, sound muted, a narrator's lips moving silently under the glow of the ceiling fan. Ava licked frosting off her thumb and glanced over. Thanks for the phone, Aunt Erin. Her voice was sweet again, as if kindness and cruelty couldn't be more than 2 seconds apart. You're welcome, I said, my voice steady. I didn't correct her. My name is Erin Caldwell. 36 years old enough to know when a room is full and still has no place for you. I slid my phone from my coat pocket. No one noticed. They never did. My thumb hovered for half a second, then tapped twice. The My Utility Now app opened instantly. I scrolled through the list. Spectrum Internet, Hulu Family Account, Shared T-Mobile Line, Duke Energy, all under my name, all green, all active. Then I hit disable. One by one, the switches flipped gray. No one flinched. Monica was showing someone photos on her phone. Dad laughed at something a cousin said. Mom brought out a tray of peppermint bark she hadn't made herself. Ava took selfies with the phone I bought. I stood there for another moment, letting the warmth of the room press against me like I didn't belong. Snow collected on the window ledges. The heat vent ticked beside my ankle. That was the last thing they ever got from me for free. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I made tea and opened the closet. The kettle clicked off with a tired sigh and the peppermint tea bag danced quietly in the mug. I let it steep while the cold from the window crept along the floor. The space heater buzzed in the corner, doing its best against the Ohio January air. But the corners of my apartment still felt like the inside of a snowbank. The beige carpet had grown used to my steps, pressed flat along the same paths I'd walked every day for the last 7 years. Grandma Eleanor used to say, "Leave quietly, but leave receipts." I reached up to the top shelf of my hall closet and pulled down the old black nylon backpack I hadn't touched since college. The zipper was stiff, edges faded, one strap slightly frayed. It still held. I set it on the kitchen table next to my tea and started filling it piece by piece. First, a folder labeled Utilities in faint blue ink. Inside were 4 years of electric, gas, cable, and trash bills, all with yellow sticky notes, paid by E. Caldwell. I slid in 2 printed invoices from Ava's school, the ones Monica once claimed were covered by partial scholarship. The bank routing number on the receipts said otherwise. Next came the grocery list, not mine, Mom's. Her rounded cursive still looped across the page. Milk, apples, brown sugar, cereal. On the back, I'd scribbled a note from years ago. Paid March 12th, 19. You told me not to tell Dad you forgot the card again. Then the medical receipts, Dad's pharmacy deliveries, the inhaler refills, the online portal password I'd reset 5 times. I clicked open a small silver flash drive labeled Caldwell Records. Double-checked the files, screenshots of texts, utility logins, PDFs, and the voicemail from Grandma, shaky but clear. "Erin," she said, "I signed the papers. The lake house is yours. They won't like it. I don't care. You were the only one who showed up." I folded the deed last, signed, notarized, dated 6 months before she passed, my name printed clearly. It had waited long enough. When the bag was full, I zipped it shut. Then I packed a second, smaller bag, just clothes, toothbrush, charger. I took my time. No rushing, no drama. I let the apartment hum around me. The distant traffic outside, the click of the heat vent, the faint gurgle of the tea, cooling in my mug. At 5:47 a.m., the sky was still dark. I brushed snow off the windshield, started the car, and drove across town. Their street looked the same. Quiet, untouched, as if nothing had ever broken here. I parked at the curb, walked to the front steps, and placed the backpack where they'd have to trip over it. No note, no knock. Just one black bag packed with everything they forgot I did. By the time I reached the diner, 2 towns over, the sun was beginning to glow behind the clouds. I slid into a cracked vinyl booth, ordered a black coffee, and wrapped my hands around the warm ceramic. The smell was bitter and faintly metallic, like pennies soaked in steam. The waitress didn't ask questions. She just refilled my cup and nodded. At 6:21 a.m., my phone buzzed on the table. "Wi-Fi's down. Can you check?" I didn't answer. I took a sip and let the silence steep. By noon, Rachel had already called 5 times. The 6th came in just as I was trimming my pothos plant, the shears in my hand hovering over a browning leaf. I didn't answer. By 2 p.m., my dad's pharmacy app had locked him out of his refill portal. By 2:15, the texts started rolling in. First Monica, then Mom, then Rachel again. Monica posted to Facebook around 3. It was a vague status, the kind she specialized in. "Anyone else's utilities being weird today?" With 2 question marks and no explanation. The comments filled fast. A cousin wrote, "Must be a hack," and someone else added, "Try unplugging your router." Monica didn't respond. I didn't either. I just scrolled past it with the same thumb I'd used to shut everything off the night before. They always called me the stable one. Said it like a compliment, but really it was a job title. Unpaid, unspoken. They never asked what that stability cost. They only noticed once the floor went missing under them. The apartment was quiet. Not the lonely kind, but the kind that felt earned. The space heater clicked rhythmically under the window. My tea had gone lukewarm, but I kept holding it. Across the street, snow had gathered on the parked cars like someone had laid down quilts and forgotten to shake them out. By late afternoon, Linda left a voicemail. Her voice was soft in that performative way, trying to sound concerned without admitting any fault. "Erin, honey, this isn't who we are. We just need to sit down, talk. Rachel's upset. Your dad's... He's confused. Let's not let this get out of hand." I listened to it once, then deleted it. No anger, just finality. Instead of calling back, I watered the fern in the hallway. I reheated my tea. I clicked open the voice recording from Grandma again and let her words fill the silence. "You were the only one who showed up," she'd said. "That counts. Don't let him rewrite it." It wasn't until nearly 8 p.m. that I heard the knock. 3 sharp bangs, then a pause. "Erin!" Dad's voice came through the door, flat and firm. "Open the door. We need to talk." I didn't move. I stood there, mug in hand, my feet sinking into the thin carpet just beyond the entrance. Another knock, this time louder. "You think this makes you powerful? Shutting things off? You're not better than us. You're just a bitter girl with a paycheck." He waited. I waited longer. Eventually, the doorknob rattled, a muttered curse. Footsteps, slower than when he came. Then nothing. I stood in that silence for a long time, not hiding, not afraid, just steady. That night, I didn't check my texts. I didn't post anything. I made dinner for one, pasta with too much garlic and a side of peas. Just before bed, a new message lit up my phone. "Was that you, Aunt Erin? The black bag?" It was from Ava. No punctuation, just those words, soft and strange, like she already knew the answer. My father stood outside my apartment like he'd never once ignored my address. He didn't knock this time, just stood there, arms crossed, coat too light for the cold, eyes scanning the door like it might blink first. I watched from behind the blinds, unmoving. He held his phone loosely, scrolling, then typing. A minute later, it buzzed in my hand. Game. Section 112. Let's talk. I didn't respond. But that night, I went. Progressive Field was alive with noise, the kind that rattled your ribs and masked any silence you carried with you. Fans yelled at refs. Vendors shouted about hot dogs and pretzels. A teenage couple argued 2 rows over about who forgot the tickets. It was exactly the kind of place someone like my father would choose. Public, performative, too loud to get truly personal. He was easy to find. Middle of section. 112, back straight, black backpack perched on his lap like a prize or a threat. He didn't wave when he saw me, just tapped the bag once, then patted the seat beside him. I didn't sit next to him. I dropped down 2 seats away, close enough to see the twitch at the edge of his mouth. The crowd roared as someone hit a double. He didn't look up. "You made your point," he said, leaning forward. "Now what?" I said nothing. He opened the backpack and pulled out a folder, flipping it open like he was paging through receipts at the grocery store. "You think this changes anything?" he asked, voice low. "Sticky notes and utility bills? A flash drive from a dead woman?" His knuckles whitened as he gripped the papers. "No one will believe any of this." I turned slightly, eyes scanning the rows in front of us. An elderly couple eating mustard-drenched hot dogs, a boy with cotton candy stuck in his hair, people living lives that didn't orbit our dysfunction. He kept going. "You embarrassed your mother. Your sister's humiliated. Ava's friends asked her if you were in trouble. Is that what you wanted?" There it was. The shift, not concern, control, the need to get the story back in his hands. "You owe us," he added, softer now. Rehearsed, always rehearsed. I stood slowly. He froze. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. The paper in my hand said more than shouting ever could. "I didn't abandon them," I said. "I just stopped paying for the privilege of being invisible." 2 rows ahead, someone turned to look. A teenage girl nudged her mom. I held up the deed, the notary seal catching the stadium lights. "This is the lake house," I continued. "Grandma gave it to me 6 months before she died, because I showed up, because I carried the weight when no one else would." Dad tried to interrupt, something about legacy and misunderstanding, but I held my ground. "You told me I was lucky you raised me," I said. "But you didn't. I raised myself, and then I carried all of you." I stepped forward and let the folder fall at his feet. "You don't have to like it, but you don't get to lie about it anymore." For a moment, he looked older. Not in years, but in wear. Like a man who'd built his house on someone else's labor and finally saw the cracks. I turned and walked up the stairs, past strangers who didn't know me but heard enough to wonder. I didn't run. I didn't look back. And for the first time, the man who always raised his voice couldn't raise a reply. By morning, Monica had changed her profile picture. Her new caption read, "Families heal through grace." Ava was in the photo with her, both smiling under the glow of the living room chandelier. You'd never guess anything had cracked. The post had 27 likes in the first hour. One comment read, "You're such a strong mama." Another said, "Proud of how you're handling this with class." Monica responded to each with hearts. I didn't engage. I didn't even frown. I set the phone face down on the table beside my tea and stared out the window as snow flurried past the glass. The silence in my apartment felt cleaner now, settled, like a room that had finally been aired out after years of stale breath. Grandma once whispered, "They'll rewrite it. You just make sure you don't read it back." I remembered that now, watching Monica reshape the narrative like clay, pressing out the cracks, smoothing over the sharp edges. The voicemail came just after noon, Mom's voice soft, carefully wrapped in emotional gauze. "Erin, sweetheart, this isn't who we are. We just need to come together. Your father's quiet, Rachel's hurting, Monica is trying, she really is. Ava misses you. I do too. Please don't shut us out." She paused before hanging up, and I could hear the static breath of someone waiting to be forgiven without ever asking for it. The mortgage email followed an hour later. Subject line, "Cancellation confirmed." The house had officially moved off autopay. Every month for the past 5 years, those payments had come from my account. I'd never told them. They never thought to ask. They assumed the system just worked. I didn't respond to the email. I didn't call anyone back. I folded laundry, wiped down the kitchen counter, sorted mail that no longer included anyone else's name. I made a second cup of tea and let it steep longer this time. Around 5, my phone buzzed again. It was a message from Ava. I didn't mean it. No context, no punctuation, just those 5 words floating in the notification bar like a small boat on open water. I didn't need more. I knew what it was. The birthday, the sentence, the way no one looked at me when it landed. I stared at the screen for a while, thumb hovering just above the keyboard. Then I pulled my hand away, not out of anger. I just didn't want to break the stillness I'd built. I opened my voicemail one last time and let Mom's message play again, not because I needed to hear it, just to say goodbye to the part of me that used to care what she said in that voice. Then I hit delete, not out of rage, not as a statement, but because sometimes release is quieter than forgiveness. I opened my laptop, created a new folder on my desktop, and named it Forward Address, Knox County. The cursor blinked. The screen waited, but I didn't rush to fill it. Not yet. Outside, the snow fell heavier, but inside, the quiet held its shape. The lake didn't care who thought they owned it. That made 2 of us. I parked the car at the bottom of the gravel path and walked the rest of the way, boots crunching over the thin crust of February snow. The house looked smaller than I remembered. Paint peeled from the porch railings. One gutter hung loose, like it had given up halfway through a season. The porch swing was long gone, leaving only 2 hook bolts and a soft rectangle of clean wood where it used to sway. Inside, the air smelled of old wood, river wind, and something sweeter, like dried pine and memories sealed in dust. The house was cold, but not empty. My footprints made soft sounds across the worn hardwood floors as I stepped inside and set my bag down. This was mine, not because I bought it, not because I fought for it, but because she gave it to me and I showed up. I started with the living room. Monica's forgotten DIY wreath still hung crooked on the coat rack. I boxed it up without a second thought. There were half-used craft supplies stuffed into the side closet, glitter, wire, chipped mugs waiting to become something cute. I filled one cardboard box, then another. I found a sunscreen bottle in the kitchen drawer that had expired in 2019. Into the trash it went. I didn't clean. I cleared. There's a difference. In the kitchen, I unpacked a single mug, the one I always used at Grandma's, pale blue with a crack down the side that never got worse. I hung it on the hook beside the window. Then I reached into my coat pocket and pulled out the photo. Me and Grandma Eleanor on the porch swing. I was 13. She was smiling, sun hat slightly tilted. On the back, her handwriting had faded, but I didn't need ink to remember the words. Erin deserves something that lasts. I framed it, put it on the kitchen table. Let it watch over the house like she used to watch over me. The fireplace was stubborn, but I got it going. Not for heat, just to prove I could. The flame caught slow, like the house had been waiting for it. My phone buzzed once. A final message from my father. "You'll regret this. We won't." I blocked the number. Not out of spite, just to finish the sentence. The next morning, I stepped onto the porch with a mug of coffee in my hands and nothing in my inbox. No texts, no voicemails, just the lake, wide and still, moving slow like time didn't matter. The quiet didn't ask anything of me, it simply let me stay. The lake didn't say anything, it didn't need to. In that stillness, I finally heard myself. Sometimes stepping away isn't giving up, it's choosing peace over permission. Families may rewrite the story, but we get to choose which parts we carry forward. And when love is only handed out with strings attached, silence can be a way to protect what's left of your heart. If this story touched something in you, I'd be honored to hear your thoughts. Feel free to share what it reminded you of, because sometimes healing begins with being heard.